do this. Tighten that up. All right. Oof. Light. Too much light. It's okay. All right, guys. We were going to go into the second part of Christian sorcery. I thought I would deviate a little bit. Okay, I would do a little bit of a divergence here because this came to mind as I was having a conversation. And okay. This came to mind as I was having a conversation, and I think this is important. Because those of you who are Apex humans out there, geopolitical Christians, too much. Then mind reading is something you naturally do. You just don't know because you were taught that mind reading was like, you know, it's not that. So we're going to talk about a little bit. Again, I don't give too much detail. Some of these things I do have to pull back on. I can't tell everything just because certain things not everybody needs to hear. This is really, some of the stuff is really more streamlined, tailored to you as an individual. And so if you're interested in kind of playing with some of these ideas and actually seeing if there are results that can come from it for you, set up a call. Just do the Instagram, use the Instagram link as provided in the description for this video. And we can play around with some of the things you want to create, with some of the things you want to activate within yourself to see if the Apex Human Journey or Geopolitical Christianity is for you. So don't hesitate to use that option. All right, so we're going to deviate a little bit here. We're going to talk about Christian sorcery, mind reading demystified. I'm going to talk about some of the ways that you do it. I'm not going to go into deep, dirty, nitty-gritty details. I'm just going to give you guys a very basic understanding. If you already do this, it's going to click for you, and then you're going to just be able to utilize some of the stuff I share here. The thing is, we're living in a very dark age, and so some of the sciences of the past, such as, you know, the 365 senses we have as humans, and the real ability to tap into aspects of yourself that are expanded, that are greater than this body that you see in the mirror, those things have been suppressed. They're not lost. There are people who have access to these things, and they know them, they understand, they teach it to the young people, and they help these people cultivate it. That's how they're able to be, you know, the apex aspects of the human story. So here I'm just doing, you know, just sharing with you guys something that I've found to be useful, and in areas where I've not had as much success, I do the best I can to share what I know, and I'm just honest about where I am not winning as nicely as I would like to. All right, just because you're Apex doesn't mean you're going to do everything absolutely perfect all the time and always win in every single category, but you definitely are in the process of creating a life that works for you, and that's the purpose of this whole channel. Okay, let's get right into it. I realized that I was hitting a brick wall with a couple of things, and I realized the reason I was hitting that brick wall was because they were patterns, thoughts, ideas, concepts that I was thinking were mine were actually not mine. They belonged to other people, and that these ideas were kind of like throwing a monkey wrench into my flow, my spiritual flow, as I was moving through life. Hello, Zomduck. Welcome. And so it's a blessing and a curse to be able to read a mind. A lot of people that have the ability to read minds are born that way. I mean, they're just born that way. They naturally do it. A lot of them just keep it quiet. They don't say anything about it. They just notice they have this pattern and this ability, and they secretly use it. Some people use it intelligently and become extremely influential and powerful and wealthy and all the other stuff that people mostly want. And then others who have this ability to read minds have been guilted, shamed, beat down. And so they instead, this gift becomes a curse. And so we're going to talk about it, you know, and get into it. So if you're a deep empath or something like that, you tend to have the ability to read minds more or less. And I'll just let you know what that entails. My background, you know, geopolitical Christianity, if you watched my channel before. Hello, student. Oh, no, actually, that's a... Oh, Shadow is the goat. Okay, it's cool. That's cool, Shadow. I like shadow work. But anyway, I had was trained as a hypnotherapist, a certified master hypnotist for almost a decade. work with multi-billion-dollar companies to help them gain international recognition and improve their scores with their clients, with their patients, with their staff. And that was when I was working on my master's in organizational psychology. I never finished that master's degree. I ended up getting a doctorate instead in phenomenology and human development. That was my area of focus. So anyway, this is something that I'm pulling up from over a decade ago, because I got certified as a hypnotherapist in 2011. And then I maintained that certification until 2018. So almost a decade. I'm gonna call it almost a decade. It was 7 years. But I still use those skills well into the years following and help people with it. I just expanded my toolkit as a hypnotist, a master hypnotist, a master hypnotherapist, to include things that the hypnotherapy certifying board just didn't agree with. And so anyway, I'm gonna get into that. But anyway, I realized that I was hitting a brick wall because I was allowing the thought patterns and expectations of others to bleed back over. When you're reading someone else's mind, it's not a one-way street. You're not watching them reading their mind and no, it's a two-way communication. Okay, it's like when so that's kind of how it works. So if you read humans too well, you do need to take these following steps into consideration, because a lot of the bleed over will cause you to do things that are not consistent with your patterns and will lead to problems in your life later on. So let's see what's happening here. Aisha Anderson. Okay, by reading minds, do you mean that you can read mannerisms? That's exactly where, that's what we're definitely implying, okay? But there's a deeper aspect to it, and that's a very good distinction, Aisha. Excellent distinction. But we're going to get into deeper aspects of that, okay? Aisha Anderson also says, and micro aggressions through body language. Yeah, that's what I think of when I hear that. Yeah, you're hitting the nail on the head. As a hypnotherapist, though, there was some deeper things that we got into. Again, I'm not going to share that stuff here because it's just not everybody. I don't know what it sounds like you're very in. You're very like tapped in, Aisha. But I don't know that everybody here is tapped in. So I'm not going to share some of the deeper stuff. All right. Nelson said hi. Okay, yo, God bless, man. How's life treating you, man? Great. Thank you so much, Nelson. Thank you for that. Jimmy White, that's called discernment. There you go. See, a lot of the stuff is very easy. It seems like you guys are on point. Good evening, Allergic. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. So good to see you, Allergic. Oops. I remember you from before, Allergic. Thank you so much for joining. It's good to see you. And the Foxhound. Okay, locked in on this. Okay. All right. See, Moises. Oh, that's a really cool name. All right. I've always been open. That when I thought I was the only one. Nice to know I'm not. I'm glad that you've been open. So let's get right into it. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for the likes and all that great stuff. So just like Aisha was pointing out earlier, right? Typically, the easiest way to read a mind, if you're not a born mind reader, is to just read mannerisms. There's so many books you can read on it, from the body, How to Read a Person Like a Book is one great book. Reading the Mind, Chinese mind reading techniques that you can read. There's so many books on this, and they're profoundly accurate. It truly is a science, right? So, but there is a hidden barrier between thought and action. And the born mind readers that you call INFJs, empaths, all these sorts of people, ever since you were a teeny tiny little kid, a little human, right? A little tiny human, a monster is what I call little kids. You could tell when what someone was saying didn't match up with almost the electromagnetic field that they were putting out. Because the heart does put out an electromagnetic field. And as a child, we're very sensitive to these things. If you weren't sensitive to it, you wouldn't survive. The race would go extinct thousands of years ago. So children are still very sensitive to that. Part of that is because of the brain waves that they're putting out, and they're very susceptible to the electromagnetic field that's produced by the heart. Look at the heart math studies on this, how mothers' thoughts and emotions directly change the brain waves of babies that they are holding. There's all kinds of research on this. So there is a hidden barrier between thought and action. Most people, when they get older, their brains solidify. Their brains are not putting out those alpha delta waves anymore. They're now stuck in a beta brainwave state. And so they're not living in this quasi dream state where they're kind of aware of what's happening and kind of not, right? And so mind reading is very simple. It's easy to demystify. You just, well, I'm reading body language. But if you're very sensitive and you're one of those people whose brain stayed a little bit younger, even into adulthood, you're picking up on the electromagnetic impulse that's coming out of the heart space, right? And you're noticing that that electromagnetic impulse does not match up with the words, the tonality, and the mannerisms of the individual. It's like if someone says, I love you. You see, ugh, I hate doing that, sorry. But you see how there's this, I had to work up viciousness. I had to work up viciousness and then say, I love you. The gritting of the teeth, the tightening of the eyebrow, you know, see, there's a dissonance there. And so that's an easy way to read someone's mannerisms. Like people, like Aisha was saying, microaggressions, these sorts of things. So people assume that their thoughts are concealed by their actions that contradict them. So many times when someone says something like, oh, the vibe is off. Wait, they said this, but the vibe is off. Pay attention to that. That's a great way to read your minds. Let's get back in the chat. There's a lot of activity here. All right. Yeah, Aisha, yeah, it's just, yeah. And then Jimmy White says, can you read people by shoes? If you see Crocs, the person is not... That was funny, I like it. Not many of you should become teachers. Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers. Oh, this is a probably Christian. Because you know that we who teach will be okay, we're not dealing with that here, but thanks for the comment. It helps the algorithm. All right. Nelson says, I was wondering when you speak of things like hypnotherapy is like truly a hypnotic, okay, is that truly a hypnotic experience, or is it more of a psychological manifestation of micro-mannerisms, or is it truly a spiritual way? It's a fusion of all three. That's a great question, Nelson Jr. Yes, micro-mannerisms. This is the thing about animals. Animals, what really caused humans to have big issues, and you read this in the Bible, right, with the whole Tower of Babel and some of these allegories, it talks about how the words we were speaking started to lead to a certain amount of confusion. Now, the Bible does say in Isaiah 55:11, you know, my word goes out from me and is going to accomplish everything I say. You know, the power of the tongue is really powerful. Just be careful for it. Things like that, right? But we are different from animals and small children is that we can say things out of our mouths that aren't currently reality. Just like it says in the book of Joel, it says, let the weak say I am strong. Now, is the Bible telling you to lie? It depends on how you use that verse. If you're saying I'm working on becoming a stronger person, and then you affirm that you're strong, over time it's going to become true. So you're actually affirming or having faith. But what a lot of people do is they know something in their mind and in their heart, and then they speak contrary to that. And that's where you find the dissonance I'm talking about. And they're using it as a manipulative tool. They're using it as a way to get what they want. They're using it as a way to look a certain way to other people when their hearts are far from me. Like Jesus said, you know, I reject those people who honor me with their mouth, but their hearts are far from me. And so when you're reading minds, you've got to listen so much to the heart. And when you're listening to the heart, that's the thing that people call vibes. You know, what vibe, you know, that sort of a thing. I'm gonna just use the word vibe, you know, vibe, flow, a sense, that sort of a thing, okay? So if you're honest with yourself, you can spot this dissonance so much better. So there are people, it's the easiest people to lie to are people who lie. Unless they are people that are on the spectrum that don't really believe in lying. They're like, something's off about this person, but I'm just going to trust them. I did that a lot as a kid, and a lot of children do this. So naive people are exceptions to that. But there are people that are habitually deceptive to themselves. They're the easiest to deceive. The easiest person to steal from is a thief, right? Because there's a karmic structure there, right? Galatians 6:7. So if you're honest with yourself, you can spot dissonance immediately. And what does honesty mean? It doesn't mean you're just saying things to yourself that match your current reality. What it means is you are listening to your heart, listening to your spirit, and you're noticing when the vibe is off. And the vibe being off doesn't mean that the person's a bad person, doesn't mean that they're evil, they're gonna get you, they're trying to lie to you. It just means that there is a dissonance between you and them, okay? If you know music, there's certain notes that if you play them together, it creates a dissonant chord. It causes this kind of to your ears, right? That's all that means. You know, it's not a bad thing or good thing, an evil person versus a good person, bad. It's none of that stuff. It's just a matter of what the Bible says. How can two walk together lest they be agreed? If two people are in resonance or in flow, it's going to go. But if they're not in resonance, they're not in flow, it's going to be dissonant. And so listen to your heart, listen to your body, and then that's going to help you to read minds more effectively. All right? Yeah. And Aisha says, I connect completely with what you just said about how you can hear, but notice the mechanisms don't match up based on what experience you've had with the type of subject and the truthfulness of it. Nelson also goes on to say, so I've heard of the electromagnetic waves that each person puts out had an effect on people around, especially like empaths. Yes. Okay. How big of a role does that electromagnetic field have in that dissonance? It just helps you to be very, very aware of it. That's all. Empaths may, feel the dissonance, and it may manifest as other things because, as you grow up, you get domesticated, the child in you is quelled so that you can function in society. What happens is, instead of seeing it exactly as it is, because kids see and pick up on things, they just don't have the terminology yet. So they'll see dead people walking around, not dead people, but they'll see disembodied consciousness floating around in the ether, like thought forms. I'll call it that. Children will see thought forms or perceive thought forms. They may not perceive it with their eyes, but their energy field will pick up on it, and it will register as a physical visual field. So they may see, I saw an orb or a light. They may not necessarily be seeing that or perceiving that with their eyes, but their energetic field is translating that into visual signals so that they can articulate that using their limited vocabulary. As an adult, when you interact with those sorts of fields, you may feel it as, my stomach is bothering me. Because now you're an adult, you have more of a vocabulary to describe what you're observing. And so you may get in a person's presence, you're like, oh man, I smelled something bad spirit, evil spirit, right? You smelled something that smelled bad. Or you get next to a person, and it doesn't matter how good they smell bad. You're like, I like that cologne, but not on you. Something's off. And that just means that you guys are dissonant. You may meet a person, and there's a person I'm staying with right now. I cannot stand his guts. I don't know what it is, but I'm very childish. And so I trust my child self to be like, I don't fucking trust that guy. I don't like him. I don't like his energy. I fucking hate the way he smells. And he doesn't smell bad. He's clean. He's very, very clean cut and everything. I don't fucking like him. And I respect that because that's my inner child picking up on something is dissonant about him. He's cordial. He's somewhat respectful, but there's something off about his energy. I respect that in me. So you may smell something. It may manifest as a smell, a taste, or you may get a memory flash in your head that you immediately forget, and you just get this weird feeling. So trust that. Most adults are taught to squelch that, suppress it, hide it, and be a nice, good person. Be socially acceptable. Don't do that, Billy. Don't scream when that man gets close to you. All of us had that sort of socialization. Okay? Yeah. So Aisha says, I've always thought about that. The reason is because the brain is quicker than the eye. Another theory I have is that we all behave the same on a base level with ways we adapt through civility. Yeah, exactly. And then Nelson says, would you happen to be religious? I think you're saying religious at all, because if so, I'd like to ask your opinion about the beliefs that might tie into that. Of course, not religious at all, but I use Christianity as a scaffolding for the Apex Human Awakening. And then Aisha says, so those of us who are antisocial are more apt to be able to perceive others in a strictly unspoken level. Yes, because of their chosen way of communicating, as well as our basic mindset of survival. Exactly. A lot of people that are antisocial that I've met, they're very introverted. They're the most social people you'd ever meet. But you have to be almost animalistic or childlike in order to get that social aspect of them to shine. Because when they were very little, something happened and they were like, ooh, I can't do this. I cannot deal with people. And I'm in that stage right now. I cannot answer texts. I cannot answer phone calls. I cannot deal with any of my friends or family. I spent 40 years being this deep empath, listening to people's words, honoring, respecting their narratives, when knowing that their patterns, their vibes, and their energy was completely contrary to what they were saying. Ethiopia. Abisha, Tiruno? The Ethiopian is so funny. So I could, one of the things I always found interesting when I was a little kid is like I could understand more languages than just English. And even now, as an adult, I'll dream in other languages that I don't speak fluently. And I understand them. And when people are talking to me in those languages, I can understand what they're saying. I mean, I've been exposed to a lot of languages, that helps. But it's like, when you get down to that level, you're able to pick up on all those things. I digress because I saw these Ethiopians. Abisha, Teruno? All right, I'm picking on them. All right. Yeah, but a lot of antisocial people are just, they're just, you know, their energy fields are very open, and they're just like, no thanks. First of all, I'm not going to shut myself down. I'm going to be myself, and I don't want to be around people whose energy is constantly pinging me. And so, you know, I've had to take time away from people. Okay. And then Nelson says, do you have an understanding of how the Eucharist works, or the beliefs behind it? Yeah, the Catholics and the Eucharist, I understand it very superficially. I've read the Eucharist so many times, and I'm just like, what the fuck? It's like football. Sorry, American football. I don't understand it. I don't care how many times I watch it. I just don't understand it. I don't have the requisite neurology to do that. I can break down the basis of consciousness and all these other mechanic stuff, deep philosophy stuff, but football, forget about it. I have no idea. I don't understand it. The little guy grabs the ball, he runs this way, and then the other guy tries to take it from him, and then when they cross that line, I know there's a touchdown somewhere, but then, like, I don't know why. What are they doing? I don't know. I don't understand it. So yeah, I have been exposed to the Eucharist many times. I've read it, and I'm just like, what the fuck? I don't get it. So yeah, in my case, yeah, I was trained as a hypnotherapist, master hypnotherapist for almost a decade. I recognize the dissonance and understand. That's one of the reasons, like, I'm not gonna get into that one. I think I shouldn't talk about that. They told me not to talk about it, but this creates a drain on your energy. So if you're a deep empath and you notice that you know, we get on something pretty certain, you know, my daughter's a powerful empath. She just doesn't know it yet and doesn't accept it. Unfortunately, she's in a situation that exacerbates her self-blindness, but she's, you know, she's brilliant. Anyway, but when you pick up on bodily sensations, smells, you know, your 365 senses, we have 365 senses, the Cometians or the Egyptians identified, those are pinging you. And because all your other senses are shut, all those senses are pretty much shut off except for 5 or 6, it's going to force communication through that. So you'll get near a person and be like, my stomach feels weird. Oh God. Oh, we were hanging out with Harold over there, and I don't know what it is, but I just got a headache. I've been drinking water, I've eaten, I'm well rested, I just got a terrible headache. So pay attention to those things. All right. Just know that the rate is... So I've heard. I wouldn't know. Greg asks, we need to get rid of this religious nonsense before we can begin to determine whose well-being is worth the precious limited resources. So who does not before it's too late? And this is a gummy worm gospel gobbling ideology. I get you, Greg. I'm totally with you with the end of religion. But I would say to you, Greg, have no fear. Religion's going to come to its end very soon. Don't let them lie to you. Religion's not as old as we think. It's probably not older than 3,000 years. But its basis is about 6,000 years old. So don't worry, it's going to go away. We don't have more than maybe 200 or 300 years left on religion. So the species is evolving at a rate, and we're not evolving up. We're catching back up. You know, we used to be up here, and then we fell into a dark age, and we're like probably about right here. Okay, so as a species, we got a long way to go. But this is, you know, religion stays in this realm, right? And we're here, so we're not far away from religion coming to an end. So I wouldn't worry about that. Christianity is a scientific approach to spirit and all that other stuff. But I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, just watch my other videos and you'll see what I'm talking about when I say that. I just use Christianity as scaffolding. So notice how your body responds to moments when a person's words, actions, and presentation doesn't match the vibe that you get from them. Trust the vibe, okay? Now, if you really want to up your skill, let's say you were born as an empath, you were socialized, and they beat it out of you, and now you let people into your field. And this is the one thing I always notice about people. And I have girlfriends that have, you know, friends that are girls, girlfriend, but friends that are girls that'll come up to me and tell me about how some guy was a narcissist. and they're not psychiatrists. I'm like, girl, did you do an assessment? How do you know he was a narcissist? Because of his behavior. I read the 10 steps. Okay, lady. Or guys will say it too. I know guys will do the same thing. So all I'm saying is there are people that will get into relationships knowing that that relationship will lead to a painful pattern in their life and spark certain trauma. They know that going in. I did when I married my ex-wife. I absolutely knew that it was a traumatic relationship for me and destructive. I knew that before I even proposed to her. However, we are socialized to attach ourselves to those sorts of relationships. And at the time when I got alone, I felt antsy. I was like, I liked my alone time, but I also felt really lonely. And what I'm saying here is solitude is essential. Healthy solitude is very essential for enhancing your mind reading. So when you get alone and you take care of yourself, you take that alone time to love yourself, to enjoy yourself, laugh, watch some comedy, whatever it is that gets your brain associating solitude with pleasure. You want to give yourself dopamine releases by being alone. You want to get that so that when you are alone, you can clarify your energy field from other people's energy field. One of the things that happens as our brains develop is we get this thing called object permanence. And with little itty bitty babies, one of the most torturous and terrible things you can do to a baby is play the game of peekaboo, especially if they're under the age of 2 or 3, because they haven't fully developed this thing called object permanence. And object permanence just means that when I go peekaboo and you don't see my eyes, I haven't disappeared out of the universe. But for a 2-year-old, you're gone forever. You just died. You just committed suicide in front of them. And it's so like, oh, they're so cute, but that's how their brains are. They don't fully have that understanding of barrier between self and world. And they don't fully have that barrier, the understanding that if something doesn't exist within my perceptual field, it still exists. Now, with that said, quantum mechanics is teaching us that maybe babies are right. Maybe if it's not in your perceptual field, it doesn't exist. But let's just go with object permanence. The idea that just because my hand went over here doesn't mean it's gone out of the universe. It still exists. It's just not perceptible to me. So with the object permanence and the ego development, we sometimes pick up on ideas, thoughts, expectations of ourselves and ideas about ourselves that don't belong to us. They belong to mommy. They belong to daddy. They belong to society. They don't belong to me. So if you can get into solitude, one of the biggest things is solitude, prayer, meditation. I'm gonna leave fellowship out of this, and just basically solitude, prayer, and meditation, and scripture, and actually allow yourself to become very familiar with your inner voice. Become familiar with your inner voice, getting out into nature, toggling the voices in your head, and they may not be audible, but just like impressions. You're out in the forest and you always go, oh, someone's stalking me. Well, ask yourself, where is that coming from? Are you perhaps being stalked by a predator? Because, if you're in California, it's probably a mountain lion somewhere. You probably need to be safe. Get your pepper spray out. Be on alert. But if you are in like a park somewhere and it's totally open, there's nobody anywhere, ask yourself, why do I feel this? Why is this thought a part of my mental pattern right now? And perhaps you had a caregiver who was perhaps assaulted while they were out in the park, and they never said anything to anyone about it, and that pattern latched onto you, because every time you were at the park with this caregiver, she would, her body language would tell you that we're not safe in the park. And so solitude is essential. Getting away from people and understanding the difference between yourself and the world is really important for empaths. Okay. Okay. And then Greg just says, mankind won't survive much more flourishing. Maybe not mankind, but humankind definitely. All right. So there is an incalculable value to stepping back from social interactions. Solitude creates space from human interactions that allows you to be more aware of their patterns when re-exposed. So when you're in solitude, you're in meditation, you're enjoying your time, you're eating a beautiful, delicious, healthy meal, you're watching some comedy, or you're just sitting back, pleasuring, whatever, you're full of pleasure, whatever, right? And then you get back around people, you go to the mall, you go and hang out with family or something like that. You'll notice like, oh man, this feels really good. Oh no, this feels terrible. And you wait, but my cousin and I are really great friends. Why does it feel terrible to be around them right now? Woo, we just identified a pattern, right? So it doesn't mean they're bad, doesn't mean they're good, doesn't mean they're trying to get you or hurt you. It just means that you are identifying a difference between you and them, And perhaps there's a dissonance between their energetic field and yours. It could be something as simple as they made a joke about you, 2 hours ago to somebody who you never met that put you in a bad light. And you picked up on that because perhaps they're feeling guilty about it. Right? And so this is where you start to pick that stuff up. All right. It creates solitude creates space for human interactions. I talked about that. Okay. So solitude does not have to be permanent. You don't have to go out and live in the woods. That's whatever. That's weird. I've been in the woods by myself many, many, many times. I used to work out there, and being around people is useful. Okay. Eventually, at some point, you got to re-engage, right? Or you will go crazy. There are too many. By the way, there's spirits out in the woods too, so I can get into that, but I'm not going to go there. But this pause from human interaction allows you to stay aligned with what you actually want, instead of being distracted by false signals and thoughts that are transmitted by individuals outside of you. So that could be a pride if there are other apex humans, or it could be the herd or the gaggle if they're gummy worms. All right, my favorite gummy worms. Are you allergic to peanut butter? Aww. We got a kid in the group. Hi. No, little friend, we're not allergic to peanut butter. I love the babies. You guys are so cute. So cute. All right. So, self-awareness is a big part of mind reading. Your mind, your thought patterns are going to change when you're in someone else's energetic field. Like we talked about the heart math science around the electromagnetic field that extends outside of the body by several feet, and this is measurable. That people, when you walk into someone's energy field, you're going to share information. You're going to share data, right? That's all you're going to do is share data. And so knowing what your field looks like before you interact with other people is going to be vital, because there are psychic vampires out there. There are people that they're weak spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and they're going to basically siphon your energy without you knowing. And they're parasites. Now, again, leeches are parasites. Certain animals are parasites. That's just their nature. Again, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not bad. But if you don't have a solid self-awareness that protects you and your energetic field, then they can potentially seep energy out of you, even if they're 1,000 miles away. So when you're doing mind reading, like I said earlier, understand it is a two-way street. And so if you get into someone's energy field and you have absolutely no taste for hamburgers, you hate hamburgers, and all of a sudden you get a craving for hamburgers, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you hear someone validate it and say, man, I can go for a hamburger right now. Click, click, click. That's life telling you your intuition's on. Listen, pay attention, all right? So if you start to see that, understand you're in a two-way street. Start to pick up on that. You say, ooh, I'm sensitive. I'm picking up on things that don't belong to me, okay? And then just recognize that and say, okay, that's good. Thank you, mind, for letting me know that didn't belong to me. I know that there were times in my life, especially in my marriage, where I would get very violent and very vicious, and I have a very violent streak. I love it. I don't hate it. That's my shadow side. I love it. I integrate it. I'm a tiger. I'm a tiger. I embrace that. But there were times when I would get like really rageful, and I was like genuinely happy beforehand. But then, my ex would come into my energy field. I'd go into hers. I'd walk into a room where she was, and then all of a sudden I would just get like really caustic towards humanity. I'm already a little bit misanthropic, but it would just go to from a level 10, which is my normal natural state, level 10 misanthropy, to about a level 1,000, to where it was just like, we need to drop a bomb on all these gummy worm humans. Let's get rid of them, right? And that's not. I noticed that when I was away from her, or I had no connection with her at all, I was in love with everybody. I was like, God, life is really fucking good. I could go into crowds without being freaked out. I could go to malls without freak. But if I was with her and at the mall, I'd be like, I show speed. I would get like that. And that's not my true self. I actually do love humanity, even if I call them all gummy worm gospel gobblers. But I do genuinely love humans, and I genuinely love children. I genuinely love animals. And so I'm like, where's that come? Oh, I'm channeling her stuff. And because I genuinely loved her, of course, we had a sexual relationship. We were married, kind of. Anyway, but we had shared deep energetic fields. So now I'm replicating her energetic patterns. Not that she's a bad person. She just had more social anxiety than I did, and the way she dealt with that was this. And I interpreted it in by upping my violent vitriol. Now I have that within myself. I'm not going to deny that. However, I took it from a level 10 to a level 1000 because I was tracking with her energy field. So self-awareness is important. When you're around somebody who has that kind of thing going on, and you say, "Oh, wait a second, wait. Okay, I know I don't like cookies, but I don't want to throw up when I'm around them. What's going on here? Okay, I know I don't like cookies, but why do I feel like throwing up around these chocolate chip cookies? Am I pregnant? Well, I know I'm not pregnant. If you're a lady, am I pregnant? You know, so just take account of where you are and what's going on with you. Okay? Yeah. So, I love children. All right. Anyway, so my reading is really important. You must see your wins while avoiding the trap of self-congratulations. This is my next step. I jumped ahead a little bit here. So when you take time to be really self-aware and be able to pick up on where you end and the other person's field begins and the difference between your thoughts and theirs, you can pick up on their thoughts and say, okay, this is not coming from me, this is coming from them. Okay, how do I engage with this? There are times when I've been in the presence of women I was not attracted to, and all of a sudden started to have sexual feelings toward them, and I had no attraction to them whatsoever. And it turned out they were pregnant. I was like, oh, they got those hormones going. Okay, I'm picking up on their fields. That makes sense, right? But I do like pregnant women. I'm not saying nothing wrong with them, but I'm just saying they're gorgeous, by the way. But I'm just saying, you know, there's certain things that can influence your feeling state. Okay, so when you start to see those things happen, pay attention to it, know where you stand and know where they are, and say, oh, I'm picking up on their fields. With this, be very careful and avoid the trap of self-congratulations. You know, if you're in the field of somebody and you read a book on body reading and they say if a person looks down to their left, they're lying. And then someone sees you and then you ask them, hey, who took, I don't know, who took my cookies? And then they go, I don't know. Now, they could be lying very clearly, or they could be lacking self-confidence, or they could have been beat up as a child all the time for cookies being stolen. And so anytime someone mentions a cookie being stolen, they get afraid and they lack confidence and they feel insecure and they look down to their left, right? So there are a lot of things happening there. Don't look at the axiomatic signs of body language, facial expressions as a clear message, okay? If someone is doing something that, you know, a previous narcissist that you knew did, don't assume that this person is narcissistic. Oh, I read the book. They did these things. Oh, they're a narcissist. Start with what you're picking up on. Don't ignore it, but then say, okay, let me like do a little investigation here. Again, so just keep that in mind. Okay. All right, peanut butter friend. No, I'm not allergic to peanut butter. Okay, Rebecca says, is this true? Is Toy Story is better than Cars? Oh, we got another little kid. Hey, little one. Welcome to the chat. You're so adorable. I love children's. All right. I don't know. You tell me, Rebecca. I think I've seen you before. I shouldn't do that. I'm being what is it called? Patronizing. So pardon me for that. I think children are adorable. I really do. So pardon me if I'm being a little patronizing there. All right. So patronizing in a negative way. All right. So take time. When you take time away and you develop the self awareness. And you notice, oh, I noticed that this person did this, and then they were lying to me, or they were going to take something from me, or I noticed that the woman did like this, and she smiled and tilted her head to the side, and I read in a book that that's a sign of attraction, and then later on she let me take her number. She gave me her number, and then we like hung out. Oh, I'm picking up on this. Okay, that's good. You're on the right path. Don't get blinded by self-congratulation. Oh, I'm the sorcerer wizard of all. I know what you're thinking. Let me read your mind. Don't do that, because people are very deceptive, and the most deceptive person is the person we see in the mirror. And so I have to be very careful of it myself. We all do. So just be very aware of that. Don't beat yourself up, but just say, okay, I'm reading this. I'm noticing there's a dissonance between the vibe I'm picking up and the words this person is saying. Let me feel into that a little bit. And if your body says no, then your body's telling you don't need to get into that. Back away, find another group, find another person, respectfully remove yourself from that engagement. Okay, so A lot of times the self-congratulation keeps you from moving forward into real alignment. So just be aware, check in with yourself, and don't allow yourself to stagnate, okay? So it helps to actually see what's happening rather than getting up caught up in projections. Sometimes you'll meet a person. As a hypnotherapist, I always have to ask my clients this: who do I remind you of? How are we similar? How are we different? The reason we ask all of our clients that at the end was because we wanted them to realize any time when they were putting us on a pedestal and say, okay, if you're putting me on a pedestal, why is that? Let's bring some self-awareness. How am I like the person that you admire, that you're associating me with? And how are we different? That difference cuts the line of worship. It's very important when you're an empath or an apex human, geopolitical Christian, you start to do this Christian sorcery. You start to do things that people are like, whoa, you're manifesting things. You're doing this. You're amazing. You can read minds, blah, 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 blah. Like Jesus said, people are like, oh, good master. Jesus is like, no. There's none good but God. Relax. You can connect with that power too. Don't worship me, please. And I don't know why Christians pray to him. He said, you can just go to the Father. I was here this whole time, showed you guys how to connect with the Father. You're praying to me? What the fuck? It says, what is the fuckest? New Testament. I'm fucking with you. Oh, Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca, you're so cute. Tornado is much dangerous than a hurricane. I think a tornado is more dangerous than a hurricane. I'm sorry, but you're so cute. I love you. I really do. I love all children. All right. So just keep that in mind. It's easy to pick up on a pattern or a dissonance between emotion, word, and action, and then make a damning assumption on someone with no basis in what the person knows about him and herself. There's something, again, I said, sometimes people's words won't match their actions, and that could be they're neurodivergent. They had a brain injury. Their face is fucked up. Literally. There's some people that got punched in the side of the head when they were a kid, and the neurology here is all fucked up. Excuse me, I'm sorry, there's a kid in there. I forgot. Okay, I use profanity. Sorry, kids. And so their eyebrows all messed up, and you know, they never got diagnosed. And so when they come to you, they're like, you're like, it's like that Seinfeld episode where George Costanza, I believe it was, got grapefruit juice in his eye. I love Seinfeld. Anyway, he got grapefruit juice in his eye, or lemon, or Jerry, or somebody like that. No, it was George Costanza. And so there was a hot girl that he met, and he was just like, hey, so, you know, what time do you want to meet? And he was like winking at it because he had thing in his eye, or the acid in his eye. A person could be doing that. They could be giving you a signal that indicates something that is an axiomatic sign of lying, or of concealment, or maybe of attraction. Maybe a girl's ear itches and she don't want to itch it, and she goes, she don't like you, but she's itching her ear and she feels embarrassed about it or something, right? And so just take time. Don't rely on the signs alone. Check in with your vibes and just move from there, okay? So just be real careful. Listen to yourself. Relying on your expertise or experience as a Christian sorcerer means trusting it enough to question it, okay? All right, so this is another part of mind reading. It's a little ancillary, but thank you guys for staying, liking, subscribing, and thank you, my little precious human, for asking those beautiful questions. I really appreciate you, Rebecca. I think you're precious. I really do. I really, really do. I really do, okay? So let me answer this question real quick, okay? Bezoid! What if a girl pepper sprays me? Is that a... You kids are adorable. Okay, did you watch Willy Wonderland? I don't know why you guys on the internet at friggin' this time, guys. Come on, guys. You should be in bed, babies. Unless you're on the other side of the planet. In that case, this makes sense. I'm going to stay on topic. I love you guys. You're adorable. All right. So anyway, so we're going to get to mind reading. Any of these intuitive arts they're not like this. It's not like plumbing and then architecture and being an electrician, where it's a somewhat fine delineation between those things. These all bleed into each other because it's the world beyond our five senses. This is the non-empirical world. We're starting to develop technologies that help us to read minds, actually interpret dreams. Like there's actually a technology that's like 20 years old now, but it's not in the public, where you can actually analyze brain patterns and reconstruct dreams. Just look it up, you'll find it. There are actually devices that will read your thought patterns and turn those into specified responses, words, images, things like that, colors, all of that. So it's really cool what the technology is doing now. So we're starting to tap into this field of the unknown and the unseen. However, with that said, it's not like I'm a mind reader, and then I'm telepathic, and then I practice telekinesis. It's not a fine line. So we're going to get into a little bit of bleed over into channeling and into mediumship. Okay, channeling and mediumship are not the same. They're different. But for the purpose of this discussion, this is how mind readers are able to read minds. You're channeling other people's thoughts. You're mediuming other people's thoughts. See our little children, Latin bananas, or Latin beans. Oh, no. Stop saying, don't be nice to Rebecca, okay? Excuse me? Yeah, ignore that person, Rebecca. Oh, Rebecca, I love you. You're adorable. Ignore Latin beans, okay? We're going to ignore Latin beans. So let's talk about channeling and mediumship. Channeling and mediumship are essential tools for picking up on others' mental patterns. So, like I said, children under the age of 5, and even if you're one of those weird ones that, like me, stayed a child forever, I was remedial, okay? I'm okay with saying that. Even though I was fucking brilliant and have very high IQ, I was remedial in a lot of ways. So that just meant that my brain took a little longer to solidify. It was jelly for a little longer. It's still jelly, but everybody's brain is. But anyway, little children have the ability to medium and channel. Okay, and you'll see this in apex predators, kittens. Like when you take a little cub, a little tiger cub from mom, and that tiger cub is vicious, like that little tiger cub will rip your face off, or a little bear cub, and that little bear cub could rip your face off. They're not, what they're doing is channeling their ancestral bear, channeling their ancestral tiger, okay? Even little kittens, you see feral kittens, they go crazy. They're channeling, okay? What happens is you socialize them, and then they lose the ability to do that. Now, the apex predator is a little different, but a feral cat will always be a feral cat, even if you bring them in the house and feed them food. So you, as a little child, have that ability. It means like going back to object permanence and ego development. With little tiny children, they don't have the ability to say, this is me, that's mommy, this is me, this is computer, right? Because to them, they are everything and everything is them. They're learning this about baby brains. When you're in certain meditative states, you experience that. And when you're in certain compounds in your body, you experience that oneness with all, right? And so with the oneness principle, you start to pick up on the emotions, the patterns, the thoughts, the behaviors, the actions of other people. Now, when you're reading minds, like I said earlier, I had a partner, a life partner, whatever, marriage partner, that was very socially anxious. And so for me to pick up on her patterns and express that, her social anxiety expressed to me as misanthropy. I was misanthropic, okay? So I was medium and channeling her patterns, but it was coming through the filter of me, and it was coming out as misanthropy, anti-humanness, right? And so keep that in mind. Mediumship and channeling are essential tools for picking up on other people's mental patterns, okay? And so if you are noticing that you walk through a situation, and like I said, men do this to women all the time, and there's a lot of red pill bros like, you do this to a woman and you're going to get her to like you, and I find that so disgusting just because I understand the art behind it, and I haven't used that stuff. I'm not that guy. Yeah, if a woman likes me, I want to make sure she actually likes me. I ain't trying to trick her. If you're tricking a woman into liking you, you're a fucking loser, bro. Find women that actually like you, bro. All right? Okay. Anyway, but a lot of men will do this with women. Like they'll approach a woman and use these little techniques to cause her open field to align with his energy, and then trick her into thinking that she likes him. Okay? And so you might notice that whether you're a man or woman, girl or boy, doesn't matter what you are, you may notice that in a field. And when you notice that, you have the ability to medium or channel someone else's energy. Now, that can be a great asset. You get into the presence of someone who's a billionaire, millionaire, and you want to make a lot of money, or someone who's really good at a certain skill and you want to improve that skill in your life, get around those people. Just be in their place. Let their heart math, energetic field touch yours, and just watch their actions. Even if they're dead. We used to do this too. In one of my advanced classes, you can actually channel dead people. And if you think this is kooky wooky weird stuff, of course, Napoleon Hill, you can read all his stuff. But there's a precedent for this. Think about it this way, and this will help you without me naming a bunch of studies that I don't remember. I'm not going to try to pull up. Think about it this way. There's a verse in the Bible. It's in Corinthians. It said, "Let this mind be in you." No. It's in Romans. It says, "Be you transformed by the renewing of your minds." But it also says in the New Testament, I think it's Corinthians or Romans, where it says, "Let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who thought it not robbery to be equal with God." So it's saying, put on the mind of Christ. What the fuck? Okay. Yes. Okay. If you're a Christian, you believe Christ is still alive. But think about that instance where Saul went and evoked, he did a seance and brought up Samuel's spirit. Samuel had been dead. He fell like on, broke his neck and died. And then a witch conjured his spirit up. Everybody can do that. It's not a dark art. It's not scary. Okay. I'll tell you where you need to stop, because there's certain parts you don't need to go into. But let's say you admire Michael Jackson. You admire his dancing style. Well, guess what? You know what you do? You go watch a bunch of his videos. There you go. Now you're going to channel him. Now you're going to medium his energy. And you're going to get all these insights that Michael Jackson never articulated. And they're going to come to you. And this is a phenomenon that is really crazy and only very deep. Princeton has some studies on this. It's... I'm gonna have to be careful about this, because some of the stuff it's really kooky and weird, but it's verifiable. You can do studies on this. I mean, you not do studies, but you can look into this. Death is not the end, okay? But that doesn't mean that person is walking around in the ether somewhere, okay? So let's get that clear. I'm not saying that there are dead people walking around. What I am saying is that when you're living, you are creating vibrations of ether. We'll call it ether. Right? If I go, whew, I've just put out a gust of wind, and by the butterfly Mandela effect, whatever, butterfly, I think it's the butterfly effect or whatever, yeah, butterfly effect, that's a colloquialism for it. 2,000 miles from here on the other side of the world, a hurricane will happen because of that, right? Because of the snowball effect, things collect and create energy over time. The same is true of thoughts. The same is true of minds. So if you have someone you really admire, but you're unfortunate that they died before you got to connect with them or learn from them, guess what? You can read their books, you can watch their interviews if they were alive and were interviewed, and you can pick up on their thought patterns. Because understand this, when you're reading thoughts, you're picking up on a resonant field of electromagnetic frequencies, vibrations, that everyone is sharing. And so a thought in that field is just it's like, when you pluck a string on an instrument in a room, and if that same string, like I'm a cellist, so if I pluck the D string and there are like 3 other cellos in the room, they're just sitting there, all of those D strings will vibrate if I pluck the D string. That's how thought is. And so when you're wanting to pick up on someone else's vibrations or their energy or their power, you want to medium them, you want to channel them. You can do that. It's okay, it's healthy. But be aware that sometimes you might be in the presence of someone who has negative energy or something that's bad for you, and by picking up on their energy, it causes you to lose your flow. Someone who has a very nefarious or very, very sick or perverted way of being, if you get in their energy, you might start to notice that first your body's going to tell you, be careful. You're going to feel weird around them. Like the Epstein guy, Jeffrey Epstein or Weinstein. The Epstein or Weinstein, either of those two creeps. Like, think about all the people that they interacted with. Think about the people that got near them and like, something's off. Something's off here, right? Right? So pick up on that. And if it's people that you don't want to be around, feel very comfortable to just cut people off like that and just not be around them. It's totally okay. They're going to be hurt. They're going to be offended. You do not have to explain yourself. I'm giving you permission right now to protect your field until you're in a place where you can channel maybe a stronger person or a more powerful person, and then stand up to them and say, look, I just do not feel comfortable with your energy. And be able to say that without having to explain yourself, then that's, you want to consider that. There's a lot of activity, so let me go back a little bit here. I hope you guys are being nice to yourselves. Okay. Be nice to each other. Be nice. Okay. Rihanna's okay, yeah, let's see. Sega, I'm not familiar with that. Maybe I'll screenshot it. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Latin beans. Oh. Okay, I'm good to see you guys kissed and made up. Very good, kids. All right, Justice, say hi. Hello. Trevor, I'm thinking of Trevor Noah. Anyway, okay, that's a verse about being humble. Jesus was, okay, this is a That's mainstream Christianity. We're geopolitical Christianity. Saul was specifically told he would. Yeah. The Witch of Endor. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, Rebecca, can we see your airbag? No, I can't show you my airbag because then that would destroy my car. It's inside my steering wheel. Okay. Okay, and then Latin Bean says, what about blocking those people with bad energy? Yes, you can. You can block people that have bad energy. There's some techniques that you can learn, and they're just meditative techniques. I'm gonna share you one really easy one. I used to share it with clients. Well, I'll share you. I'll just share this with you. It's very easy. I'll share it with you right now. You're a kid, woman, man, whatever you are. Just use this energy. When you're alone, it helps to practice this before you get out in the public. All you're gonna do is sit quietly, breathe a couple times, in, out, like 3 to 5 times, until you feel your body relaxing. It's best to breathe in for about 3 or 4 seconds, hold it for 3 or 4 seconds, and then breathe out for 8 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do that 3 to 5 times, okay? Just gonna calm your body down. Next thing you're gonna do is close your eyes and imagine a force field of light around your body. Okay? All you do is imagine a force field of light. Be as creative as you want with it, or you can be as simple as you want, doesn't matter. Imagine this force field of light protecting you, guiding you, shaping you, and letting you know when danger is around and blocking that danger when you're around. And just cultivate that. Now, what this does is you are actually activating a pattern in your energetic field. You're telling your heart and your brain to recognize dangers and protect you from them. And what happens is your reticular activating system, RAS, gets kind of triggered. And then it says, okay, so your brain is picking up on way more information in the world than you know. But now you're telling your brain, pay attention to people that are a danger and do not match up with this imaginary field I just created around myself. And when I get around them, let me know before I'm about 15 feet in front of them, instead of allowing me to get within 3 feet of them. See? So your reticular activating system is going to notice things. Oh, that person has these micro movements. It's going to notice it from 15 feet away. And then you're going to go, let me back up. But you're not going to do it consciously. So just practice that. Play with that. It's a simple technique. Sorcery is so simple. That's just sorcery. Christian sorcery. I'm using the Christian term to make everybody feel comfortable. That pisses off the Christians. But yeah, it's Christian sorcery, okay? So all you're doing is creating a field around yourself, and the science of it is that you're telling your reticular activating system to pay attention to people that are in danger before you encounter them much more early, so that you can back away or cut your ties before you even get there. Often your brain's going to get you on autopilot, and so you're going to be walking through the mall, and then your brain is scanning the entire area. Like, you're not conscious. There are billions. Your brain processes well over 1 billion bits per second, something crazy like that. You're only aware of like 300 to 700 bits of information, something crazy like that. So you're going to be walking through the mall, and there's going to be a creep like 50 yards ahead of you down the way, and you're going to notice, your brain is going to notice, because he has a certain gait in his walk that is indicative of creeps for you. And so before you even get there, your brain is going to be like, oh, look at Zara. Let's walk into Zara for some weird reason, and look at that yellow shirt that I don't even give a fuck about. You see, that's how it works. So it's magic, it's sorcery, but it's just neurology, guys. It's neurolinguistic programming, it's autosuggestion, it's reticular activating system activation. Okay, so that's all that it is, okay? A lot of activity. Thank you guys for the activity. Thanks for the likes and all that stuff. Okay. Yeah, and then Rebecca says, I called tongue, sung her rhymes with grung. Oh, I don't know what that means. All right, another Isaac. Oh, no, this is a different Isaac. Okay, what's poppin', Metropolis? Welcome. Hey, and PTS. PLS. Okay, no, no, it won't. Oh, Rebecca, bless you, brother. Okay, Dawn says, through mouth and out. Yeah. Thank you, Dawn, for that clarification. Dawn was asking about the breathing technique. You can do it many different ways. I suggest you do through the nose, like in through the nose, and then out through pursed lips. So in a certain amount, 3 to 5 seconds, and then out 5 to 10 seconds. Oh, sorry, 6 to 10 seconds. Okay. So twice as long out as in through the nose and out through the mouth. You can go through in through the nose. It doesn't matter. All it's doing is you're triggering your vagal nerve. Okay, and that causes you to go into parasympathetic nervous response. So your autonomic nervous system has 2 functions: parasympathetic and sympathetic. And when you're in sympathetic, you're in fight or flight. When you're in parasympathetic, you're in heal, recover, and deeper thought. It's restoration. So you want to be in that restorative state so you can pick up on higher brain functioning. And so that's why you do that. It puts pressure on your vagus nerve, which drops you into parasympathetic, which allows you to be permeable to positive, uplifting, encouraging, and restorative thoughts. So very good point. In through, it's best to go in through nose, hold it, and then out through mouth. Twice as long as it took to come in. Okay, very good point. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Dawn, for that. Rebecca there. Okay, love it. All right, so yeah, put these things into practice. So there's a difference between so you must stay unique in your mind, in your mediumship and channeling. And it's beautiful if you can channel someone that you admire, that is powerful, and you're actually going to start to see yourself do things you've never done before. So you're going to see yourself like, I would channel. I'm very good at mediumship and channeling ever since I was a kid. People are like, how are you able to like mimic that person exactly? Their mannerisms, their words, their voice, everything. And it's just being a very deep empath. I am able to pick up on their patterns and just replicate that without thinking about it. So how are you able to do that? It's very important. But at some point you might lose sense of self. Again, going back to the last point, stay authentic, stay yourself, and get away, get by yourself, and cultivate your own unique energy. Make sure you know who you are and you know the difference. But if you want to improve on yourself, let's say you admire someone like, oh God, Michael Jordan. He's an easy guy, right? Michael Jordan or Oprah Winfrey or Margaret Thatcher or one of my favorites, Temple Grandin. And you love how she loves animals. By the way, she's a great person to follow. If you're into mediumship, understanding animals, nonverbal communication, Temple Grandin, guys. Temple, just like a temple, and Grandin, Grandin. She was one of the lecturers at one of the universities I went to for a master's degree in integrated resource management. I digress. Brilliant woman, one of my biggest heroes. But anyway, I love her. I watch her, and I take in her energy. So I am channeling a lot of her when it comes to dealing with animals and dealing with children. Because I'll say, I mean, I'm already a kid anyway. But I look at how she deals with things. I'm like, oh, I can tap into that. I can activate that within me. And then I accentuate the parts of my personality and my spirit that are similar to hers. Okay. So just do that. We are all unique. Stay unique. And understand the difference. Now, understand there is a fake uniqueness. Some people do a copy and paste type thing. And a lot of people say, oh, I'm different, but they're actually lying to themselves. They're just copying other people. So do be aware of that. And don't beat yourself up if you do that. If you're really good at mediumship and channeling, then just own it. It's okay. Oh, by the way, mediumship is, I didn't really distinguish them. Mediumship is when you, it's like a form of channeling. How do I describe this? Mediumship is it's like taking on someone else. But channeling is projecting or carrying the thought of someone else without actually becoming that person. Mediumship is almost like you become them, right? Channeling is almost like you're channeling. You know, you're taking whatever thought patterns they were having and you're bringing those through yourself. But mediumship is you become them, okay, in a way. So, I mean, some people might go back and forth on that definition, okay? So putting your, when you're doing channeling and mediumship, you're putting your point of view to the side for a minute and you're channeling theirs. Deep empathy is required for that. Okay, and a lot of people, it's something you might have to be born with. Isaac said, would you agree that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh and is from God? No. I believe that Yeshua ben Yosef, the Jewish rabbi, was a real man, and I do think that he was exceptional, but I don't believe that he came in the flesh as you're saying Jesus Christ. I believe that Jesus Christ comes in our flesh. There you go. You can channel Jesus Christ. You can be a medium for Jesus Christ. And like I said, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus, who thought it not robbery to be equal with God. So Jesus said, I and God are one. He also said, you are gods. John 10:34 and 35. So if you can be one with God, like Jesus can be one with God, you're medium Jesus. You're channeling Jesus. You can do that. But you're exceptional too. Like Jesus said in John 14:12, you're going to do the same things he did and even better. Okay, because he went to the Father, meaning he went to the original source from which all things came, and he opened up a pathway for humanity. So you can channel Jesus too. Jesus is awesome. He's a wonderful, wonderful, powerful being to channel. And he had such a big energy field, if he was a real physical person, that a lot of people tap into him. Buddhists, Muslims, spiritual people, pagans, everybody channels into him. So Jesus is a great one. That's a good example. Thank you for that, Isaac. All right, and finally, mind reading enhances understanding and forgiveness. And I harp big on the forgiveness, because those empaths out there, if you're an INFJ or you're just one of those big empaths, you probably were used. Okay, as a child, you were used or abused. People, adults around you who were weaker than you, perhaps were psychic vampires, and they sucked on your energy because they were weak. They may have used your spiritual energy. They might have abused your sexual energy. They might have abused your intellectual energy, whatever, at your expense. And so it's hurtful, it's destructive, and you need to come to terms with that, and seek healing for that. And that will really enhance your ability to read minds. I know there's a lot of pain in the world, and we do have to forgive the people that hurt us. Jesus said to do that in Mark 11:24 through 11:22 through 26, where he said, look, if you really want to live the life that you really want to live, you want to have the things you want to have, you got to forgive the people who have hurt you. You've got to forgive them. And I hate that jargon about forgiving others. It releases you. It does. But there's a little bit of like moralistic blame in that. Like, oh, you were abused and you're an abuser. You need to forgive them so you can be free. Well, before you forgive them, you need to obliterate them. So don't forget that, do a ritual, curse them, whatever you got to do. But then come to a place of releasing them so that you can live a full life that Jesus was talking about, okay? Or Yeshua ben Yosef was talking about. Again, Jesus is a part of your neurology. Jesus is a part of your spirit. For us geopolitical Christians, a lot of other Christians would recoil at that, but that's what we know to be true. All right, so the mind reading space, like I said, is a two-way street. So be very careful. There are people that will pick up on your empathy, or empathic ability, not empathy, but your empathic ability, and they will see you as a target because you're a bright, shining star. You're a morning star. You're an Eosforos. You're a Luciferos. All right? And so that means that you're this bright morning star shining in the world, brightening the world, bringing light into the world. You're a light bringer. And they see that, and they're not as bright as you. And so they're going to look at you and say, okay, I need to siphon you for your energy. And even if you're not around, they are siphoning you for your energy. They're saying little jabbing comments to you. They're doing little things. They're being moralistic. They're telling you you're a bad person. They're questioning your sense of self. You say something, you get this insight. You say, you're a little kid, and you say, hey, Mom, I had a dream last night that we're going to be rich, and we're going to not have to live in this tiny apartment anymore. And then your mom says, are you sure? You're just funny. Okay, and pats you on the head dismissively. Well, that jabs you in your heart. God was sending you a message, a prophecy that you could live a life of abundance, but then you get beat down. Okay, little idiot. That's basically what they're saying through their body language and through their dismissal. And so you grew up this whole life doubting God's message to you that you're abundant, that you're deserving of wealth and love and prosperity. I'm speaking to myself. And so you live this whole life of desperation and of scarcity because your spiritual insight from the Most High God was shit upon by your mom. Your mom loved you. She wasn't a bad person, but she was broken. And so you do have to forgive her and understand that your attachment, scarcity, and limitation and lack is not yours. It belongs to her. Hell, it's probably not even hers. It probably belongs to some way, all the way back to Adam and Eve somewhere. I don't know. But it doesn't even belong to her. But don't worry about her. Worry about you. Don't worry about you, but trust that God's got you. The Most High, not the gummy worm gospel gobbling simp that they teach you about in the church, but the real God, the Most High. All right, understand that the source of life got you. Okay, whatever you call that, whether it's Atman, Allah, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, the Most High got you. Okay, and so forgive other people for leaving you with those patterns. Forgive your parents for fucking you over, because look, my parents gave me some good patterns, some beautiful patterns, but some fucked up patterns too. Okay, they gave me some patterns of scarcity, where they would, on one side of my parentage, it's like, oh, I'm abundant, affirm good things, but then never have her receive them. And then on the other side, riches are evil. The rich people are bad. You're going to go to hell if you get rich. You're going to die if you get rich. So I had that kind of pattern given to me. So I have to understand where it came from, forgive them, love them, let them go. And right now I'm in a season of solitude, so I'm not interacting with any of those people at all. No matter how much they text me or call me or try to reach out to me. I'm sorry, I love you. You know I do, but I ain't fucking with you. All right? I can't. I'll have to explain it. All right? So mind reading is a space where there's a two-way street. You may pick up on other people's thoughts and understand that there's some sickness there, and that can interfere with your patterns, and it can cause you to have some problems. Forgive them, let them go, and that's the best way to cleanse your energy field, okay? So just be aware of that. This can sabotage your life and lead you to self-deception and confusion. You start to think that their thoughts are your thoughts, and it leads you to this problem in your life. All right. So this is why mind reading is always something you must approach with caution. I could have said this at the beginning, but for some reason I say it at the end. Mind reading is something you approach with caution. All of us are mind reading at all times, but if you're doing it as a science and you're getting out there and you want to pick up on people's thoughts, and you know, literally you can tell people what they ate for dinner and stuff like last night, just by reading their mind and letting them give you clues and moving the process along. So just understand it's a two-way street, and you need to be able to cleanse yourself by forgiving other people if you pick up on things. Like I've had people share with me some really dark, really terrible things, okay? I mean, some dark shit, some really, really dark shit. And I've had to understand that that's where they were, forgive them for that, back away and stay out of it. And of course, because it happened years ago, I'm not liable for reporting any of that stuff, but I can step back and say, you know what? These are things that they're going to have to heal and deal with. I'm not going to carry this in my spirit, but I'm also going to understand that their energy field and the fact that they did those things to people is something that I have to just be aware of and make sure that that's not going to contaminate my field. So forgiving them is going to help with that process. Years of reading and exploring other people's thoughts can be spiritually draining. Okay, it can leave you exhausted, so you're going to need time away. Solitude is essential. All right, during this time, you're going to have to forgive those people and those thoughts and things like that. So use your empathy to understand and value other people, but also use your empathy and your mind reading to serve others. And be very careful about who you're serving, because again, like I said, there are people that are going to notice that you're a shining light, and they're going to latch on to you, and they're going to try and pull you in so that they can, almost like a gravitational pull, use you to light their night. Okay, and I had that in my life. You know, there were people that I loved, and I know they loved me, but they were using me, and they were using my empathy, and they were using my brilliance, and I'm going to own it. They were using my brilliance to light their night so they didn't have to deal with their shadows. And when that happens is the light that God gave me, I'm not able to use to light my own path in life. And so I find myself stumbling. I find myself in the darkness. I find myself confused and afraid, not knowing that God gave me a light. He gave me a light to shine into my path so that I can light the world with his guidance. But I have to light my path. I can't shine my light on someone else's path. Think about that. Maybe you have a flashlight and someone's over there, they have their own flashlight, and then they're saying, hey, can you shine your light on my path? Well, what's going to happen to you while you're walking in the dark? This is a dark world, guys. It's a not pleasant place for a lot of people. And so if you're not shining your light on your path, you're going to trip, you're going to stumble, you're going to fall. And you're going to wonder, why is it that the people I care about are doing so well, and I'm a good person, and I'm suffering, and I'm broke, and I'm sad, and I'm alone, and I'm lonely, and I'm homeless, and blah, blah, blah. Maybe you need to shine your light on your path. And I'm speaking to me. I'm speaking to me just as much as I'm speaking to you. So shine your light back on your path. Listen to your empathy. Listen to your empathy for yourself. Listen to your body. Listen to your uniqueness. Listen to the Most High as the Most High speaks to you. Get alone. Read scripture. Get into solitude. Whatever scripture that is. The Bible is the best scripture ever compiled, okay? I'm just saying that. It's a fact, all right? I'm just going to say it. But you can read some of the other stuff that's out there that's all right, okay? I'm joking with you guys, all right? But I do love the Bible. It's the best one. Anyway, so use your empathy to understand the value of others and how you can serve them by serving yourself first. Keep your light on your path. Put on your oxygen mask first. Put on your safety vest first, right? And then you can be more of an asset to the world. That's what geopolitical Christianity is about. It's about making sure we create a golden age for ourselves that spills out to other people as well. Okay, I'm so sorry, Isaac. Is it there? Pardon me. I shouldn't say I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Pardon me. Would you agree that Jesus Christ? Yeah, I read that one. Wondering, would you want to channel other than Jesus Christ and what? Yes, definitely. Sony, the dancing diva. I love it. Are you a lady or a man? I don't care if you're a lady or a man, but I love dancers. Oh my God. All right. Isaac, yes, I've channeled so many beings, so many powers in this world, consciously and unconsciously, but I've channeled a lot of different beings. Jesus I like a lot, but there's a lot of social stigma around Jesus that does not reflect who he really was. And so when I've gotten to know Jesus is a part of my own neurology and yours. Jesus is part of us, right? Jesus is Emmanuel, God within us. I know it says God with us, but that doesn't make any sense. God is always with us. It's God within us. That's what Emmanuel is. So Jesus is Emmanuel. He's God within us. And so I can activate Jesus within myself at any time. I'm getting better and better about it. But I've channeled all kinds of beings and individuals and entities and things like that. But I've kind of, the best thing I think to channel is who you are. Channel yourself. I think that channeling myself has given me the greatest power ever, because I'm channeling someone else. That's a lesser power. And like Jesus said, make no other graven images. Don't make gods out of other people, and Jesus included. So God says, look, Moses was like, who should I tell the people has sent me? Exodus 3:14 says, tell them I am hath sent you. I am that I am. And that's poorly translated, but it's accurately translated in the sense that it should have said identity sent you. Your own beingness sent you, because the word Yahweh is Hava and Haya. It is a noun version of Hava and Haya, which means to beget, to become, to get, to be, to breathe, process. That's what the word Yahweh means. So when Yahweh appeared to Moses on the mountain, Mount Carmel, he said, identity has sent me. Identity has sent you, Moses. And the word Moses means to be born, or to be begotten, to be born, to be born. So it's all an allegory in our understanding as geopolitical Christians. Okay? So when you return from solitude to more intimate and consistent interactions with others, you'll be a lot stronger. So make sure you take time for solitude. Be able to forgive the dissonance that you see in others, but protect your field. And understand you do not have to explain yourself to anyone, because they're not going to understand it. Now, if it is an intimate relationship and you really do care about that person and that person gets you, and they're open to really understanding and they're not just hurt by your distance, then in that sense, I would say explain yourself, but never like lay yourself down so that other people can walk over you. Someone is really, abusing your energy and your time, and they're not giving you something profound in return, then understand that your solitude and your distance is going to hurt them. It will. It's going to be like starving them. And that's going to cause them to become sometimes violent, sometimes very shaming, guilt-ridding. And that's why solitude is so important. Because they're going to hit you with the very thing that's going to break your heart. Say, you abandoned me. And you're like, fuck. That's the one thing I never want to do to people I love, is abandon them. I mean, my greatest nightmare of my whole life, I don't really have nightmares. I'm not scared of much. Demons, I've seen demons. I don't care. I've dealt with demons. Ever since I was a kid, I saw demons, shadow beings, fallen angels, whatever. I saw Lucifer, I saw Satan. They never bothered me because they were cool. And demonic forces. The really things that scared me as a child were the shadow beings, because of their energy. It was like the Dementors or the Decanters, whatever the fuck they call them in Harry Potter. That's what they look like, and you could feel their energy dragging your energy out of your body. Those only ones really scared me, but the thing that really gave me nightmares was the fact that I would ever abandon the people I love most. And one of the things I learned was the reason I was so afraid of that was because I understood that some of the people I loved the most were the people that were the most toxic for me. And by abandoning them, my fear was that I would take care of myself, and that it would hurt them because of the patterns that I was taught growing up. The patterns I witnessed as a child and the patterns I adopted as a child. So reading minds is going to teach you to love yourself if you allow it to. Make sure you stay in scripture. Honor your solitude. Take time alone. Cleanse your mind. Meditate. Breathe daily. Psalms 46 verse 10 says, stand still and know that I am God. Know the identity, know Yahweh, know the Most High, okay? Use your empathy to understand others, to value them, and to serve yourself first. I said serve others, but to really minister to others in the way that you can. And you'll notice that you're ministering the proper way when after you've ministered to someone, or you serve someone, you feel full of life, full of fire, full of strength. You feel like you can run 1,000 miles. Obviously, I'm exaggerating about the 1,000 miles. You may not be able to run that far, but you feel full of energy. God, that's how God lets you know you're on the right path, is what you're doing fills you with life. Jesus said in John 10:10, I desire that you live life and live life more abundantly. He said in John as well, I believe 15 or 17, that it was 15:11, that I go to the Father and he will give you anything you desire, that your joy may be full. So this whole journey as a Christian is not about filleting a sky phantom. It's about creating a life that works for you, protecting your field, protecting your psychic energy from psychic vampires, and living a life that's exceptional here and now. And then allowing that to spill over into others' lives and create a world that works. Okay? So when you take time for yourself, when you love yourself, you forgive yourself for abandoning those you love and stuff like that, you're going to be able to forgive dissonance, and that's going to create a field around you that's going to protect you from predators, from parasites, and from people that want to destroy your energy field. So instead of calling out deception, you'll be able to meet it with clarity and compassion, evidence-based compassion that protects your field. And for children and women specifically, this is a very powerful thing. For men that were raised by women that were victims of sexual abuse or molestation or perhaps sexual assault, a lot of men who were raised by women that were victims of that are also susceptible to psychic vampirism. Your typical alpha and your typical, blockhead brute man is not often a victim of this unless he encounters a very manipulative, beautiful woman. Then in that case, look at Shannon Sharp. So even that woman wasn't that attractive, but she was okay. But you get what I'm saying. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. Understand that people hide their thoughts behind their actions, and if your vibe is off with them and their words don't match the energy that you're picking up, just pay attention to that, respect that, honor that dissonance, read that message. Notice when thoughts enter your head that are not yours, or you start to have feelings that were never there before. Sometimes, I will say this, I didn't say this before, sometimes your ancestors will speak to you. Okay, you'll actually pick up on the vibrations of ancestors that have departed this timeline. There is no such thing as death. I know the Nakash said that in the Bible, and the Christians will freak out when they hear that, some of them. But if you guys read Jesus's words and you understand what Jesus actually was, you realize that he said the same thing. But there is no death. Okay, when people leave this, you don't see them anymore, and their bodies go into a casket and they get put away. Their consciousness is still in engaging with reality. Okay, they're still alive somewhere. They're still conscious. They're just not here, and scientists know that. Okay, and there's empirical evidence to demonstrate this. I'm not gonna get into it, but I'll just tell you one thing: is that there have been studies done on dead brains, and there's still after a certain period of time after the death, there's still EEG material, EEG readings happening. And by the way, EEGs can pick up brain activity and wherever the brain is getting its information from another plane. And by the way, you got to look up the guy who invented the EEG. His name is Dr. Itzhak. Itzhak Bentov. Look up his work if you really want to get deep into this. If you really want to get deep into this, people have been buying my book because this is really serving people. And those of you who have done it, I really appreciate you. Thank you. If you really want to get into how you can apply this stuff in a really powerful way and do some exercises and see how the Bible actually supports what I'm saying here, get your copy of Hey God, Wake the Fuck Up, Bible Wisdom You're Not Supposed to Know About Real Life and the Real You. It's going to help you to, you're going to find the primary source documents for things that I'm saying. You're going to find some of the studies. I tried to not lean heavily on science or empirical studies because I did too much of that in my PhD, and I'm just like, empirical studies don't mean anything really when you think about it. Because was I in the empirical study? No? Okay, well then I probably shouldn't care about it. A lot of the empirical studies aren't that great. So anyway, make sure you get your copy of this if it's something that really serves you. If you want to have a private session, let me know through the Instagram link that you find in this video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you those who really want to activate your mind reading abilities and Christian sorcery. This was a little bit of divergence from my primary discussion. In my next videos, we're going to talk about things like the Apex Human Awakening, talk about the Lucifer-Christ marriage. Christ and Lucifer are the same thing in the Bible. I'll give you the biblical evidence for that. I'm just going to go right to the verses where that's located and give you the Latin and the Vulgate translation, as well as the Greek, interlinear Greek, the Koine Greek. We're going to go into allegorical interpretation of the Bible, how we as geopolitical Christians understand the Bible, and how we use it to actually make lives that work. Okay, because if your life's not working, you cannot witness to anybody. And I'm speaking from my own experience, guys. I'm not the holy Shimoli Boli from the top of the hill. I'm not no damn guru, guys. Okay, I'm brilliant, I'm amazing, I'm beautiful, but don't think of me as guru. I'm just repeating stuff that other people said. All right, I'm telling you that the sky is blue, grass is green, water is wet, and fire is hot. I'm not saying anything profound here, guys. I love what I'm saying, and I listen to it because it helps me. I'm channeling the voice of God. But think for yourself. I don't have truth, okay? And then we're going to talk about Jesus versus the Christ. I mean, we're going to talk about Yeshua ben Yosef, the Jewish rabbi, versus Jesus the Christ. There's a big delineation. The Bible makes that very clear. They're not trying to hide nothing from you in the Bible. It's right there, plain as day. I'll give you the biblical text for that, all of that stuff. And I'm going to break down the interlinear Greek, guys, in a way that our wonderful beloved Wes Huff never does. I don't know why he talks all this stuff. He's an apologist, but he doesn't. He does do a little bit of interlinear Greek and Koine Greek stuff because he's a brilliant guy. But I'm just like, yo, I'm not even a biblical scholar, man. I only took a couple of classes in seminary. We're going to talk about how you can create a golden age for yourself of wealth, prosperity, and all the biblical verses that tell you how to do that and why you should do that. God tells you need to have too much money. The only time you live in righteousness is when you have too much money, okay? And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 verses only, and I had to cut out like 10 of them. So there's 7 verses, okay? And we're gonna go over that in depth. So be patient with me. This is probably gonna come out tomorrow. Oh God, bless it. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. It's almost 1:11. So thank you guys for joining. I mean, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Let me follow up on these last little comments here, and then I'm gonna get myself to bed. With love and light, guys. I really enjoy this stuff, guys, and I really appreciate you joining and watching and liking and giving me comments. Like, you don't. And by the way, you don't have to agree with me. You can, if you respectfully disagree, I love to hear it and love to engage with you. All right, Latin Bean says, I don't see the IG link. Thank you for that. I will make sure it's in here. Okay. All right, Latin Beans. That's cute. That's a cute name. All right, so I'll make sure it's down there. All right. Thank you so much, Latin Beans. Thank you, guys. And yeah, channeling. I read Isaac's comment. Thank you all for coming here. I really appreciate it. And I'll make sure that IG link is, and I'll put it on the top so it's easy to find. Okay, it's usually about like a third of the way down. I usually try to put the hashtags on top so people can find the video. But anyway, okay. Jemmy White says, do you think there's an afterlife? That's a great question. The Bible. Okay, so the Bible suggests that there's no such thing as an afterlife. In the way that it's been portrayed by Hollywood and Christianity. The Bible suggests that there's no such thing as an afterlife, that life never ends. That there's no afterlife, there's just life. And when you remember that through your relationship to Jesus Christ and God the Father, you never die. And so that's why it says in John 17, verse 3, and this is life eternal, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ whom thou hast sent. It's talking about Yahweh, Theos. Theos in the Greek, Yahweh in the Hebrew, the Lord. And it's talking about the process. When you understand that you are an eternal being, you never die. And the Eleusinian mystery said that the Greeks, like Socrates and others, understood this, that there's no such thing as death. Now, it doesn't mean go out there and do harm to yourself, okay? Don't do that. But it does mean that life is eternal. And when you remember that life is eternal, your consciousness, your personality transcends this realm when you do exit this fair. And I've died many times, like, and I mean that. And I'm saying that objectively. I'm saying that from my experience. Is there evidence for it in this world? Obviously not. I mean, look at me. I'm talking and breathing. Nobody's ever died and come back. I mean, well, I did have a death experience as a child. I had bronchiolitis, actually. Not bronchitis, but bronchiolitis. My bronchioles swelled up, stopped breathing as a little baby. And then I had like 2 other death experiences. And then I went to other countries and experienced some things that take you to the point of death. About twice. So so I've probably experienced death and been revived about 5 times. But real death, when you like your body ceases and it decays and goes away, that just means you're on another timeline. At least that's what the Bible suggests when you read it esoterically. So if you read it literally, it's never going to tell you that. So yeah. So in that sense, no, there's not really an afterlife. There's just life is eternal. All things exist right here and now, forever and ever. Amen. So anyway, that's what I'm gonna say. I'll make sure that IG link is on the top so you guys can reach it. And I need to check my IG daily because I don't. Make sure that people aren't trying to reach out to me. I know people are, so let me check it out, guys. Listen, guys, stay Apex, stay amazing. Understand that this is geopolitical Christianity, so it's not gonna vibe with what you see in the church. This is about creating a golden age for you here and now. Creating a life that feels satisfying for you here and now. Prosperity, purpose, joy, peace, purity, and productivity and power is what God has for you. And when I say God, I'm referring to the power that's behind you, the power that sees through your eyes into the mirror. So thank you so much for watching. Stay Apex.